Hi guys, and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the series I've completed. This is my final video in my series on series, and by now I'm sure you're wondering, good God woman, which books have you actually read? Which series have you actually completed? And today I'm going to tell you about the books that I have actually read, and there are some of them, but not nearly as many as the series I have not completed. So today we're going to talk about the 10 series that I have finished. So first up is the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling. I don't think I need to tell you what the Harry Potter series is about, since I think almost everyone on this planet knows, but if you're from a different planet or you are living somewhere where you've never heard of Harry Potter, it is a book series about a boy wizard, and it's fantastic. It's one of my favorite book series. I don't know if it'll ever stop being my favorite book series. I have read it and reread it multiple times, and it was very magical for me. I grew up with Harry and I just love it. So if you haven't read the Harry Potter series, go ahead and give it a try because I highly recommend. Next up, we have the Gallagher Girls series by Ali Carter. This is a 6-book series that follows a group of girls who go to a school for spies. And it is all about them going out on missions and saving the world and falling in love. And it's just such a great book full of great female friendships. I would love to reread this series, and I'm hoping to do so sometime soon to see if it holds up to how much I loved it in my mind, because I recently reread a book from high school that I loved, and I didn't love it nearly as much as I did when I first read it. But I'm hoping that the Gallagher Girls series holds up. The next series that I'm going to talk about is also by Ali Carter, and it is the Heist Society series. There are 3 books in this series. This book follows a group of teen thieves led by Katarina Bishop. So the series starts off with Kat, and she does not want to be a thief anymore. However, she was born into one of the most notorious thieving families in the world, and it's kind of her destiny to be a thief. Instead of being a traditional thief, she steals things back for people who've had them stolen from them. I love the dynamics of this crew. It's one of my all-time favorite casts in a book, and it rivals Harry Potter for one of my all-time favorite series. Next up, we have the Six of Crows duology by Leigh Bardugo. Now, I have heard rumors that Leigh Bardugo is planning on adding a 3rd book to this series eventually, but currently I am considering it a completed duology. I love this duology. It follows Kaz Brecker and his group of thieves. Are you seeing a trend here? As they try to complete a heist so dangerous that no one but them could possibly be crazy enough to attempt it. This duology takes place in the Grishaverse, and it's just such a fun and imaginative world. I also love this crew, and I think that a great crew really makes a heist book, and so if you have heist books with great crews, I'm probably going to love them. Next, we have The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. I have read all 3 of the books in this trilogy. I read these books back in high school, and I have not reread them since, but I would love to do a reread of them. They follow Katniss Everdeen in her dystopian world of Panem, where teens fight to the death in order to gain their family more food. And Katniss ends up kind of sparking and becoming the face of a revolution that she's not so sure that she wants to lead, but is a great series, and I absolutely loved it. And I am Team PETA all the way. Next up, we have the Divergent series by Veronica Roth. I read all 3 of these books in a very short period of time. I read them over Christmas break in college one year, and I really, really loved the first book. The second book kind of went downhill, and the third book was not my favorite. I actually ended up unhauling these books recently. However, I did enjoy my read of them. I buddy read them with my roommate in college, and it was a really fun time. But I think more so because the 2 of us read them together than because I really liked how the book series ended. Next up, we have the Court of Thorns and Roses series by Sarah J. Maas. I have read the 3 core books to this series. I haven't finished the novella that she wrote. However, I consider a series just to be the core books in the series, and I have read all 3 books. I read them all within the last year or 2, and I'm not gonna lie, I absolutely love this series. It is a fae-centered novel that follows Feyre, who is a hunter, and she accidentally kills a fae and gets taken to the fae lands in retribution for this, and just kind of goes from there. The first book is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. The second book is a Hades and Persephone retelling. While the second book is my favorite, I absolutely love every book in this series. I've reread this series, even though I just started it recently, and I don't know if I have much more to say other than I love this series. Next up, we have the Twilight series by Stephanie Meyer. There are 4 books in this series, and I will say I started this book in middle school, and it was before the Twilight hype train was a thing, and it was just me and my friend Hannah obsessed with these books and nobody else. And then everyone became obsessed with these books. And no, they're probably not the greatest books ever, but the nostalgia I have for these books and how much I loved them when I read them is real. And so I will unashamedly admit that I loved Twilight when I read them. I don't know if I'll ever reread them because I don't know if I want to know if I would love them now, but part of me feels like the nostalgia would just be, it would be enough. It would keep me going and I would still love them. Who knows? We'll see. Maybe that's an unpopular opinion, but I loved them. The last two series are fantasy series that I read when I was in middle school, high school, and I really enjoyed, but I don't know if I've ever met anyone who has ever read these series as well. So the first one is the Seventh Tower series by Garth Nix. There are 6 books in this series, and I honestly don't really remember that much about the series, except it gets weird at the end. It is about like a group of people who live in this really tall tower, and the higher up in the tower, I think the higher your class, that could be totally wrong though. And then there's people who live on the ice and like the ground down below, and they're kind of almost like Viking type people. And there's this kid and he falls out of the tower and ends up with the Viking people, and there's a girl and there's a veil. There's this fantasy world within this fantasy world. I don't even know. I did not look up a synopsis of the series, but I read all 6 books in this series, and I enjoyed it when I read it. So the last series that I have completed is the Wind on Fire trilogy by William Nicholson. And I remember absolutely loving this fantasy series, but I couldn't remember what it was about. And so I looked it up on Goodreads because, I couldn't look up the other one, but I looked this one up on Goodreads, and this is what the description of the first book is. The first in the trilogy, The Wind Singer, is a mesmerizing and remarkably realized fantasy novel full of adventure, suspense, humor, and warmth. That doesn't even tell me what this book is about. I know it follows this brother and sister. I know it has something to do with a revolution and fighting for freedom. There's magic in this book, I think, if I remember right. And if I also remember right, this book also gets really weird. So I loved it when I read it, and I really couldn't tell you much about it, which is all that I can say about those last 2 series. So those are all the series that I have completed. Let me know if you've read any of these series down below, because I would love to chat. Let me know especially if you have read the Seventh Tower or the Wind on Fire series. Hopefully I will be adding some series to this list this year so that I can have more than just 10 completed series. But that's all I have for you guys today. Happy reading, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.